quick question for you guys. What is your favorite Disney Channel cartoon that is still airing new episodes? Yeah, that question eliminates these three shows. If you ask me that question right now, I would definitely say The Ghost and Molly McGee. I've mostly explained why I like it so much before, so feel free to check out my expanded thoughts on the show. But overall, it is a great show that is somewhat underappreciated by many people, including the people within Disney itself. So, with the show's season 2 finale about to air in the coming weekend, what are some things that we should expect to see by the time the show ends? Now, quick note, these two episodes are probably going to be the series finale as well, not just the season 2 finale. Some of you guys are either confused or in denial with the situation, but sadly, The Ghost and Molly McGee has not been renewed for a season 3. Granted, it has not been confirmed to be cancelled by Disney, but we can't just automatically assume that the show will continue until there is confirmation. Until Disney comes out and announces a continuation of the series, then we'll just have to accept the show is likely over after this weekend. I guess the more correct term is that the show will go into indefinite hiatus after season 2 ends. Anyways, what should we expect with the last 2 episodes of season 2? Well, a few things are for sure. These last 2 episodes will have the highest stakes out of all the episodes in this series, which shouldn't be too surprising. I mean, season 2 finales of most Disney shows are usually one of their most climactic moments, especially when it's likely to be their last season. I mean, the last 2 episodes are literally called Jinx vs. the Human World and The End. The names of these episodes are rather blunt now that I think about it. But yeah, these will definitely feature Jinx as the final boss antagonist of the season, and Molly, Scratch, and their friends will team up to stop her. Well, except for Andrea though. Weirdly enough, she didn't appear to be in the promo, which either suggests she will have little involvement in the climactic confrontation, or there will be a secret reveal behind her. As for what revelation that could be though, well, who's to say? But I am hoping that a surprise with Andrea is coming because I definitely think she needed more screen time for the season. As for the very last episode of this season, this one is going to tackle more on the mystery of Scratch's past. So I'm assuming that we will finally learn about his past life as a living human and his friendship with his former friend Aria. All that I've said so far is very easy to predict. But what are some specific theories and predictions that you guys think will happen in the final 2 episodes? When I asked you guys for predictions on YouTube and Twitter, a few of you predicted that Andrea will finally meet Scratch. Personally, this would make a lot of sense and I hope it does happen. Maybe that explains why we haven't seen Andrea in the promo yet, because the crew does not want to spoil it. Although, I imagine that if Andrea were to meet Scratch, the twist in the reveal will be that she already knew about Scratch's existence all along. I mean, Scratch has already scared her multiple times, and she even acknowledges that ghosts do exist and have haunted her at least 3 times now.
Not again! Ugh, this is the 3rd time I've seen a ghost. Why are they so obsessed with me?
I don't know if it will happen, but I do think the odds are pretty high given that the human world is under threat from Jinx, who somehow got the chairman role from Scratch. That leads me to another prediction for the finale that a few of you made, which is that we will finally find out about the origins of the chairman robe. That would mean figuring out more secret abilities of the chairman robe, which would also mean we may actually see the original chairman and their backstory. So more lore explanation for how the ghost world works, which is something that I look forward to seeing. I really believe that the lore is one of the most underrated things about this show, which is interesting considering this is supposedly a very lighthearted show compared to the previous Disney cartoons. Another prediction that at least one of you guys had is how Esther and Ruben Chen will be redeemed in the penultimate episode. We know their kids, Ollie and June Chen, had a change of heart when they found out about Scratch and how good he is. However, I imagine that their change of heart will be a lot harder to accept compared to Ollie and June, given that their whole livelihoods are based around hating ghosts. Also, it doesn't help that their main enemy will still be a ghost, which is Jinx. So the irony is that for them to be redeemed, they may actually have to double down on their ghost hunting. But they just have to figure out what ghosts are on their side, of course. So those are some of the low-hanging fruit predictions that some of you guys made. But given this is the season finale of a show, if not the outright series finale, there are some crazy wildcard predictions that you guys made. After reading most of them, there are 5 that comes to mind. And Jin, this certified Molly McGee stan on my Twitter timeline, happened to write all those predictions in mind. The first one is, well, Jinx dies. dies in quotes because ghosts are already dead. Although a second death is possible given that Molly did actually kill off the first chairman in the ghost world before. So it's possible for Jinx to meet the same fate, but it's possible this fate is for Jinx within the context of the show. I do think it is a pretty cheap ending given we already seen it. So if a Jinx death were to happen, I do imagine it would require a much higher cost from the protagonist to pull off. I guess that brings me to the second wildcard prediction. Molly, or at least her wraith form or soul, also dies. Molly definitely had a fair share of moments where she came close to death, a lot more than one might expect from a Disney show that is supposedly less serious than its predecessors. So for her to actually experience it by pulling the sacrifice move seems possible. Granted, this prediction is less based on what her character arc implies, and more based on the fact that previous shows that featured an overpowered female protagonist all experienced death at some point. But again, death in quotes because this is a Disney show, and we know it's illegal for them to show a child character die permanently. Although Amphibia did find a loophole for that unspoken rule. Anyway, as far-fetched this theory is within the context of the show's tone, we know at least that Molly will come close to that fate given what we have seen in the promo for these episodes. Once Jinx is defeated, and Molly and her friends return to the human world victorious, what happens afterwards? When it comes to the ghost world, there will likely be a restructuring of the political system. As for how it will turn out, who the hell knows besides the creators? But I am willing to bet that there won't be a chairman after the penultimate episode. The original chairman was authoritarian and oppressive, Scratch is too lazy and apathetic towards the job, and only used his powers for self-destructive purposes. Then Jinx appears to have used these powers to destroy the human world. So yeah, clearly giving a ghost seemingly endless power is a terrible idea. Which I guess makes sense given that ghosts were humans, and we don't do well with power either. But then that leads us to what happens at the end of Season 2. Well, there are two things that can happen. First off, we may learn that Scratch has never actually died, meaning he's actually a wraith. That's a theory that I've heard floating around for a while now, and there is some evidence to suggest this. He doesn't seem to remember how he died or much of his past life as a human. Also, we may have seen Scratch's body living within Brighton. So if this theory turns out to be true, we can see a scenario where Scratch returns to his body and reunites with his long-lost friend Adia. Of course, that suggests that Adia is still alive, which I imagine is likely actually. Given the few flashbacks we have seen of her, it doesn't look like as if Scratch and Adia were from the distant past. Or if Adia is dead and lives within the ghost world, then Scratch reunites with her there. But if a reunification between Scratch and Adia happens, that could mean one more thing. The willing separation between Scratch and Molly. Out of all the theories, this is indeed the saddest one. Given what we see in the promos, this does seem like a possibility though. This prediction would make a lot of sense when you think of how Scratch seemed to have never lived out a life as a human. So for him to actually experience that with his childhood friend would wrap up his character arc in a great way, even though if it means a heartfelt goodbye between the unhappifying duo. I guess now that I think about it, these theories essentially suggest that these two episodes are going to be the Molly McGee equivalents of All In and The Hardest Thing from Amphibia. I guess my obsession with that show will never go away, will it? Now, we could cover more and more predictions and theories on what will happen in this finale, but one thing is for sure. The Ghost and Molly McGee Season 2 is going out on a very high note. Assuming the show never gets renewed for Season 3, again, we don't know for sure, at least it's good to know that the show is likely to have a satisfying conclusion if this is really the end. But what do I know? Anything can really happen in this finale. What are your thoughts on the Ghost and Molly McGee, and what do you expect to see in the season finale? Write all of that down in the comments below, and please give this video a like, and subscribe for more content like this. Also, thanks again to Seb Maeda and MB Command Nerd for your support through Patreon, and thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all have a great day. See you in the next one.